everybody. Welcome to today's Rare Executives podcast for leaders in AI and fintech. Our theme today is harnessing predictive AI to revolutionize cybersecurity and the future of threat prevention. Now, we're very lucky in that we've got founder and CEO Luigi Lenguito of Bfore AI. So,
Hi,
Luigi, how are you
Maurice.
today?
I'm doing great. Thank you very much. We
Luigi,
have
every time I
some
talk to
very
you,
cool sunny day here. So
you're always in somewhere exotic. Where are you today, Luigi?
today I'm in Montpellier, south of France. But you're right, often found in New York City, Miami, and some other place of the world. So,
Luigi, you're like a tech rock star.
oh wow, I'm not sure about it, but definitely flying as much as they do. Somebody lately compared my CO2 emission to Taylor Swift.
There you go.
But I don't fly private, so
There you
that's
go.
definitely helping.
Hey, listen, before we get into it, right? It's not every day you've got an XF3 driver on, Luigi. So we're honored.
Yeah, I mean, I'm born with the bag of speed, you can say, and definitely spent some good time doing karting and then Formula Ford, Formula 3. You know, kind of closed that page about 25 years ago, and then maybe 5 or so years ago, I went back to the track with my fast cars, not racing anymore, but still enjoying the thrill of speed.
Good man. Good for you. Never give up. So, Luigi, how this goes
Absolutely.
down today, right? I think we've got four segments on here. The first one's about your journey and your philosophy about
Hmm.
leadership. And the second one is a bit about innovation and trends. The third
Hmm.
one's about strategic hiring and team building in AI and cyber. And
Hmm.
then the last one is kind of the future of predictive AI and cybersecurity.
Sure.
So, first of all, just tell us a bit about Before AI and what the company does.
Yeah, I mean, I think everybody here every day about all these cyber attacks, where data is being leaked and companies are losing money and, critical infrastructure at a risk. And probably people are asking, how come with all the technology and investment that have gone into security, we still hear of all these successful attack? And the
Mhm.
reality is that in the last, you know, 10 years, cybersecurity has become an extremely reactive
Mhm.
space, very much similar to firefighting. So, but to fight a fire, you need the fire first, right? And that's
Mhm.
the problem. And so 5 years ago, I saw this kind of going in that direction that I thought was not right. And we invested in technology to build a solution that would be what we say left of boom, so before the attack, that's the name of the
Mhm.
company. And nowadays we predict sources of cyber attacks at an average, a median, sorry, 3 weeks before the attack happen, up to 9 months in advance for the more sophisticated one. And we are able to shut down these infrastructures most of the time, more than 90% of the time before the attack even starts or there is content. And we
Mhm.
help, most large companies and institutions to protect their assets, their brands, their customers from cyber attacks. And it's resonating. We're growing about 20% in revenue every month. So
Wow.
definitely seeing pick up of this technology, and not saying we should stop doing the reactive, what's called detection and response, but rather we want to complement it and balance the posture of cyber companies, cyber teams between the right level of before the attack and the right level of after attack solutions.
Mhm. Amazing. Luigi, let's look at your early career milestones. Obviously, a career at Dell and Quest, prior
Hmm.
to founding Before AI. So,
Hmm.
what sparked your interest in technology and particularly predictive cybersecurity?
Yeah, listen, I was very, very lucky that my father used to have a factory in the south of Italy. And when I was 4 years old, they received the first IBM PC, probably as far as I know, the first PC that came into south of Italy. And he immediately put me in front of that computer. And, I've never left it. I still have the keyboard of that computer here in front of me at home, 43 years later, still working very nicely and clicky. And I've spent probably 90% of my awakened life in front of a computer. 25 years ago, in '99, Dell Computer were starting their South of European business, and they hired me as among the very first of the Italian technical support to support remotely by phone Italian customers. I stayed at Dell for more than 18 years, doing all sorts of roles from tech support to marketing, sales, product development, product management, merger and acquisition. Eventually, participating to 18 software acquisition at Dell, for which then I became vice president of sales, and then Dell decided to spin off this division of software sales into a company called Quest Software, and that's where I continued the career. I stayed there for another couple of years, and then I was 40 years old, and I'd always dreamed to retire at that age. I wanted to go back to the cars, so that's what I did. Put my notice in, and left, and joined the circuit time again. And as I was doing that, the itch for creating something on my own came up, and this idea of the avoiding future problem that I had learned when I was working at tech support in Dell. I was actually trained on some specific methodology for finding problems and solving them, but especially understanding avoiding problems is better. Well, that kind of resonated with me. I was seeing cybersecurity becoming a very interesting market, and then got the serendipity of luck that I got invited in a research institute program where I met my two co-founders, and we were exposed to the technology. Then we licensed the technology, and then we started working, and then COVID hit, so we had plenty of time to work on it. And then, thankfully we hit on the right note, and we started to have the first customer. And this week, 4 years ago, we started the company.
Brilliant. That's a great journey. Let's discuss your leadership style and your kind of entrepreneurial journey, and also the philosophy of, as you've said to me before, kind of fail fast, learn by doing. So how has your diverse experience in IT, software, and hardware shaped your leadership approach?
Well, first of all, I'm not a born manager, and I actually am very individualistic in my natural approach. But very early, I learned that, how they say, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together, right? So, and because I had a lot of ambition, from a career perspective and things to achieve, I understood that, I may go fast, but will not go very far. So let me learn how to work with others. And so a lot of books read, and I think, I'm not sure I have a philosophy, but certainly some learning. The first one is trust people, because generally most of us get up in the morning willing to do their best, and then empower them. So, give them accountability, give them clear objective, aspirational objective, of course, and then get out of the way as much as you can, and support them, right? So I like this concept of and I go often to analogies of the car world. I call it the shock absorber management. And, oftentimes good leaders are the one that are kind of absorb the tension and the stress coming from above, maybe from customer, from the board, from investor, whoever is that above, and then release it gradually in a controlled manner to their team, to give them just the right amount to perform the best, right? And so, being that shock absorber in the middle is a key kind of aspect of my approach to leading people.
Yeah, it's a good analogy that. Listen, let's look at your insights into your experience in hypergrowth ventures, and mergers and acquisitions, and also sort of building global teams. So, what are the most significant challenges you faced then as a leader in tech, and how did you overcome them?
Well, I mean, I'm not sure I would call it challenge. I would call it opportunity, right? So very early at Dell, I started to work remotely. It was probably in summer of 2000 that I went remote. So that's now nearly 25, 24 years that I've been working not in an office. And I was working with people around the globe, because we were providing, support to these global customers. So there would be, teams in the US, team in Asia, and so on. And so what at the time was looked like a challenge, right? I was Italian guy speaking a very bad English, trying to work with people across the globe that, I was very young, had no experience, and never traveled outside Italy at the time. And now I was finding myself in this kind of context, right? But very naively, I would say, I started to learn and realize that actually multiple culture have multiple kind of natural superpowers. And then learning the language, and then how you coordinate all these people across I was lucky at the time as a remote worker. We only had a phone and a very slow connection to the mainframes of the company, right? So very little resources compared to what we have today. And so I learned the basics of remote management, multicultural management, coordination, project management, you name it, by doing all of this, right? And I feel very fortunate that the challenge was huge, but the how to say uh, the sheet of paper was clean, right? So you had to write. So there wasn't a lot of experience. Even internet was at its. When I started, even Google wasn't there yet, right?
Mhm.
So uh, people in the audience that are aged as me probably will remember Alta Vista or Ask
Absolutely.
Jeeves, this kind of search engine that were other than they wouldn't really help you much.
Luigi,
And
I'm much older
besides,
than
there
you.
was in
I remember .com, right? So you're a child compared to me.
well, I'm hopeful that the audience is much younger than we are. So, but yeah, so I think what might have been perceived as a challenge at the time by others, to me actually was a lot of fun and a lot of kind of fill up for my curiosity. I would say that this is probably, when I look back, and even when today I hire people and I see new company growing and our company and so on, if there is one trait that I really respect a lot and I see, make a difference is curiosity. And I've, what I found is that it's probably one of the few attitudes that you cannot teach, right? Or you cannot create a context for learning. Curiosity is something you're born with. You probably learn it in the very first year. I mean, you get up with it when you are very, very young, and but it's so powerful, right? Because of course curious people is not, it's not stoppable, right? They will always want to learn new things, finding solution, figuring out why the others is experiencing something. So it works both from a technical side and a human side. And I think when I meet curious people, it's definitely a high moment in the day.
Yeah, that's great advice, actually. Listen, let's talk about part two here, which is innovation and trends in predictive cybersecurity. So,
Hmm.
just highlighting, trends in AI powered cyber and the kind of transition from reactive to predictive solutions. What do you see as the biggest trend shaping the cybersecurity sector today?
Yeah, I think the first thing we should say that AI and this type of technology that historically were called advanced analytics, machine learning, and so on, they exist since 30 years. So
Mhm.
people probably are asking themselves, why all this frenzy at the moment? And a few things have happened, right? As usually in technology. One, the codes and the algorithms were there 30 years ago, but the computing power to run them was not there.
Mhm.
Second, the quality of the data and the quantity of data to feed into these models weren't there either, right? Or was not accessible or not well tagged and so on. And third, now that you have the data and you have the computing power, then you understand better how to use the technology for a specific use case. So in our case, for example, we do not use generative AI. That is what everybody talks of today, right? The
Mhm.
LLMs and the chat GPTs and so on. We use prescriptive AI. That is another branch of the machine learning and artificial intelligence world that is about forecasting the future of data streams, right? So you
Mhm.
look at past data, you identify rules in that data, and I mean, the system does, and it forecasts the future, right?
Mhm.
And you know, this type of technology has some specificity. First, you need very clean data because for the system to retrieve the patterns and the behavior, it cannot be just random stuff. So you need to be very well tagged, very organized, very structured, very regular in the time series. So you cannot have, one data point now and another in 3 months and the next in a week later. No, you want to have every 10 minutes, kind of a snapshot of all the data points. And then, once you have all of these, it come up with this very useful insight. Now, today, this prescriptive analytics really has made inroads in predictive maintenance, where it's
Mhm.
very commonly used. And we are, as far as we know, the second use case in which is actually making a true difference, right? With predictive security that we have been kind of spearheading in the last 4 years. It has been tried, on natural data for weather forecast. It doesn't work, or at least it doesn't work yet because of the quantity of data and the quality of data. It's been used and tried into predicting behavior and psychological behavior of humans, and it
Mm.
doesn't work. Once again, probably because we don't have the right level of data, the right intensity of it. So I think it's definitely a branch of AI that is very promising because it's the Graal, right? If you know what
Mm.
happened next, you're gonna do something with it, and and like in our case, you can stop attacks. In maintenance, you can avoid machine downtime. So it's very very powerful. In parallel, you have other use cases like generative AI, where it's about describing and creating a description and a content about a topic subject. And I'm not the expert of Gen AI, but I definitely use it every day. I have a tool now that when I receive, I am kind of flooded by all sorts of email, as
Mm.
probably many CEOs, more than 500 a day. And a few weeks ago, found finally a tool that sits in my email box, and when I receive an email, understand that the email has to be replied, and it prepared two answers in a draft. One positive, one negative,
Really?
and then you just have to open the draft, remove the one you don't want, clean up a couple of words if
Mm.
needed, send it, right? And this,
Mm.
for the first time in the last 2 weeks, I've been on top of my mailbox. Generative AI is a fantastic evolution, right? And so I think it's very exciting. This technology. I know our developers use it into software development, and it's making their life easier. It take care of the more boring part of development, like test plans and QA. It helps them focus on the part that they are more excited about. It's about figuring out a better way of solving the problem or the
Mm.
creative aspect of it. And so I think in general we have to see this technology as empowering human even further, as an augmentation.
Right.
And yes, of course, there will be there will be activities that are not very excited for a human, that will be taken care by robots and AI,
Mm.
and this will cause displacement of work. But I think if you go in the past, there were jobs like cleaning the horses, before horses would be used for transporting people, and it
Mm.
certainly wasn't a pretty job to do, right? Very
Mm.
non-hygienic, and probably not you know not the best one you want to do when it's cold. And nowadays the job doesn't exist anymore, right? But we have cars, so we can
Mm.
go very quickly and fast. Have electric car. You can plan, for it to be warm when you get in. And
Mm.
so, what I'm saying is, progress is all about, changing from a status in which you're doing things naturally because you want to provide a value, into something that become more natural, and
Right.
where as human we can focus on where we are more capable of bringing value, right?
Luigi, you've touched on some video, but let's discuss the innovation behind Before AI's pre-crime platform, and obviously its unique features there, like anomaly identification and reducing false positives. How does Before AI's technology differentiate itself then from traditional cybersecurity methods?
Yeah, first of all, I think by now people are probably thinking Minority Report, the movie from Tom Cruise from 15 years ago, and I can confirm that is exactly where the inspiration first came from. Of course,
Right.
I wasn't specifically in cyber at the time, but the idea that one day such a technology would exist actually started there. And then I was lucky, 10 years later, 15 years later, to actually meet the researcher that were working on something similar. So pre-crime, that is our trademark, by the way, the name of the product,
Mhm.
is based on behavioral analytics applied to the internet's network data. So we collect every 10 minutes a snapshot of the whole internet network layer. So no content, no web content scraping or stuff like that, but just information like routing, naming, addressing, and so forth. This data, the machine learning convert over time in behaviors of infrastructure. So we see more than 1.5 billion infrastructure connected to internet, moving and evolving and edited and changing and created every day. This results in about 5 billion behaviors currently in the database, created also
Wow.
over the last 5 years, that we follow, right? And then we, with the same data, measure when these behavior get closer to a bad or a good behavior that we have previously trained the system on. And we do
Mhm.
what's called supervised learning, that where we take examples of good infrastructure and bad infrastructure and give to the system to retrieve all the behaviors of those. And then, much like, again, weather forecast is a good analogy, much like you would use weather forecasts to identify if it's going to rain or snow and when it's going to be. Then we do the same. We sell the subscription to our prediction to our customers that through the API receive it into their security system, so firewall, uh, anti-phishing filter, DNS resolver, and all these other solutions to block communication with future malicious infrastructure before that malicious activity starts. So we basically tell them, hey, it's gonna rain. They have to open the umbrella, right? This is all machine to machine and automated. But in some cases, we have another product that we call pre-crime brand defense that is about helping our customer protect their own customers or third-party suppliers from impersonation attacks. And I'm sure, most of people in the audience would have known someone that has been victim of a scam or a fraud, like a phishing email or a credential stealing for their social media account. Well, we are able to identify those frauds and those credential stealing campaigns and block them before the attack start. So we are able to, when let's say, for example, we support many different banks. If one of those banks customer receive a phishing email and they try to click on the link that they receive or scan the QR code, depending on how the message come to them, they will get the red page of Google say, hey, this is a phishing link, don't go any further. Well, we are the only one that Google allowed to feed into their system. And likewise, Google, we do it with Microsoft, we do it with Spamhaus, with VirusTotal, many others. So critically, in less than 5 minutes from our prediction, we can reduce by more than 80% the traffic reaching the malicious destination. And so that's at the global scale, of course. And then in parallel with that, we initiate a proactive takedown. That means we go to all the infrastructure provider, from the registrar to the hosters, the cloud hoster, the certs, and everybody involved in that infrastructure to tell them, hey, your customer, your this infrastructure on your network is going to be malicious. Please stop it before it become so. And we give them, of course, all sorts of indicators for that. And as I said today, about 97, 98% of those preemptive takedowns are completed before any content is loaded. So literally pre-crime, because nobody can actually see the bad activity yet.
Amazing. Let's go on to the next bit, really, which is about strategic hiring now and team building in AI and cybersecurity. You guys are growing extremely quickly. So, what do you prioritize when you're building
Thank
your
you.
leadership teams in tech-focused industries?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, we are pretty peculiar, right? So we decided earlier on to build the company completely distributed from day zero. Part of it, I'm in France. My co-founders, Luciano and Sebastian, are in Buenos Aires, in Argentina. We were starting the third week of COVID, so we couldn't have met even if we wanted. We had previously met at this research institute in the Middle East, so even in another place. I had worked 30 years remotely, 20 years remotely, so I wouldn't start a company by going back to the office. So that's kind of been, fully distributed, no office is how we started. We have evolved that in that now we are also work from anywhere, so we allow our team to change one country from to another if they want to. We have a single global pay, so that it doesn't matter where we hire the people, the cost for the company is the same. That means that we can enable people to move from one country to another if they want to. We had cases from France to Australia, from Germany to US, and so on. And we aim for a fully asynchronous environment as well. So we want to have synchronous meeting to be the exception. So to enable more collaboration across time zones, reduce, problems of diversity, increase inclusion, and so on. So this environment is very, very peculiar. So indeed, hiring is, very selective, because we need to have people that, are compatible with this. And I would say the first thing that, kind of screen for this hiring is our cultural values that are on our website, before.ai/join. And it's about be one step ahead, much like our product is about thinking worldwide. So consider all the perspectives, about sharing and enjoying that sharing because we want to grow all together. It's about trustworthiness because we are in an industry of trust. It's about the engagement and the autonomy that we need for these people to work at any time of the day without the leadership being around. So thankfully, so far, company growing very nicely. We are now about 90 people. This time last year, we were less than 40. So we've been doubling or a little bit more every year now. And I'm very proud. The team is 34 different countries distributed, more than
Wow.
36 nationalities, so literally all over the place. And quite a beauty to work together because so what it was in September, we had our annual gathering that we call Prepare. So we brought everybody to Palermo in Sicily, and we had a week together in this small village in the mountains. And just the beauty of seeing everybody engaged, and the different perspectives, and you know this is people that is now are doing very intentional thing during that week, because the rest of the year they obviously miss being together,
Mhm.
or at least there are things that they cannot do together remotely. So now all of that get concentrated in a specific week. And I think this is one of the kind of the critical learning of the fully distributed, fast growing company is
Mhm.
being intentional, right? You don't do the
Mhm.
thing just because it happens. Is you are organizing, beforehand, your processes, your meetings, your activities, based on what's the best way of achieving the results for those. And so it's extremely intentional. This is, one of my personal character traits as well. So it's very natural for me, but I'm sure that many people that would see it would look at it and say, "What is this? Is a madness." It's everything is scheduled, everything is organized, months in advance, and so on. But we are in a business. Business is closer to military than to having a party, right? So
Mhm.
we're not here to do things serendipitously, but more to do them in an organized and effective way.
Yeah, it makes perfect sense. I wish I'm sad I missed out on that trip to Palermo. That's what place is definitely on my list, Luigi. So there you go. Maybe next time. Luigi, what advice do you have for organizations that are looking to attract and retain top talent in cybersecurity?
Well, listen, I'm not sure I'm the best to talk about that, because this being fully distributed using the latest and greatest technologies actually meant for us zero problem hiring people.
Mhm.
There is definitely, I would say, a predominant interest in working fully distributed, that we capture, right? So we have an advantage compared to other companies, and we're not even the one that pay the best. We actually know that we are slightly below the median, right? So we don't target 50%, but
Mhm.
like more 40-45% of the median ranges. But we get a lot of attention because people now give some more value to that fully distributed. There are actually studies that say people would accept 20% cut in their pay to have a fully distributed role, because of course they save on commutes, they you know have a better life with their families, and so on and so forth. They can go live in less expensive places, etc. So I would say, one thing to consider is, what is your pool, hiring pool, right? If you are fully local, if you are in office, of course, your hiring pool is 30 kilometers around your headquarters, right? And very hardly you're gonna move people from other places. So
Mhm.
some of these limits that you may have in hiring are self-imposed, right? So maybe consider alternative way, more hybrid workforce, open yourself to distributed workforce.
Yeah.
I would say another change is that we are in a growth in terms of percentage of Gen Z joining the workforce, and these young people have a different working method, right? They're native
Mhm.
digital. They're much less about phone, much more about chat and written. That's good, by the way, because you want to document what they do. It's more about the purpose in what they do rather than just buy into whatever the company does. So for us, again, we help organization be safer, and we fight cybercrime. So it's actually quite purposeful as a company. I can see others being less. So you need to find what's the purpose of your company that attract people, and be
mm,
sure to target your hiring toward that class of people that is passionate about that purpose.
mm,
And then last but not least is be transparent. I think the worst one can do is to put up a job description and then people get into interview and find something completely different, right? So
mm,
nowadays I really like that it's becoming a norm to put salary ranges, what is the exact organization of the company. I
mm,
put a lot of videos, like this webinar, for example, with this conversation we're having, right? So that people can see what we think about the philosophy of the company, and they can decide if we are made for them or not, right? So
yeah.
I think there is a more to say there's more equilibrium between the information that you can have about a company and do you want to join that company, and then
Mm,
the information that the company has about you and do they want to hire you.
mm,
Years ago it was very disequilibrium. There was a lot lack of disequilibrium, right? Company would know much more because of the interview process, while nowadays there is more information, LinkedIn, podcast, and Glassdoor and all these other tools. And I think it's great, right? As a leader in a company, you just have to make sure that you are transparent, you are conveying all the values. And
mm,
the good news is that there is so much variability and diversity out there. You'll find the people that want to come to you, right? So they will self-select.
mm,
And then, that's, I would say that that's the best service you can do, is to just be very transparent and put yourself out in the social media or media, depending, which one tool you use,
mm.
so that people can see you and can be attracted by what you do.
Yeah. No, I'd go with all of that. And obviously, it falls into my area of expertise really as a headhunter. I mean, in terms of attracting people in, usually it's more money, bigger job, huge challenge, but not always, because people
Mm,
tend to show their heart with their feet. If they don't like it, they'll go somewhere else. And in terms of retaining those top people, again, you'd think it was the same things, career path, more money, give them a challenge, etc. But I think that transparency and honesty that you're talking about is really important. Good
yep.
communication, and it's not all about money sometimes, because you see people who move very quickly from organizations that are maybe in the top tier in terms of payment. So no, the whole thing's a balance, and I think the world has changed really as well since COVID. So I
Very
agree with
much.
you. Luigi, what about the last part, right? The future of predictive AI and cybersecurity. So
Mhm.
what excites you most about the future of predictive AI in cybersecurity?
I like the fact that, while everybody's very worried that this new technology will empower the criminal to be even more effective, and it's definitely true, we're seeing growth in the attacks and variety of attacks changing. But I think from a defender perspective, we have an advantage. We can make use of great infrastructures, like cloud provider and all of that, uh, you know, in a transparent way, versus criminal cannot, right? Because they don't want to be seen. So a certain degree, and this technology do need a lot of computing power. They do need cloud providers and so on, right? So I
Mm,
think at the moment, defender have a slight advantage on criminals in terms of
mm,
the use of these advanced technologies. It's all to be seen. Will we be good enough to keep up this advantage? And like in our case, will we continue to be 3 weeks ahead of the criminal? And that's definitely
mm,
what we want to do, and that's why we invest. Or will
mm,
the criminal catch up? Because eventually the technology become more commoditized and it can be run on a mobile phone, and hence they can again not go back into their hidden spaces, right? So um, the one thing I'm sure is that 20 years from now we'll still be talking about security.
mm,
It's sometimes people compare safety and security, but they're not the same thing. Safety, you can fix it, right? If you have a problem in a plane, you do a root cause, you avoid it to be repeated.
mm,
Security, you have an adversary that will constantly try to figure out a gap and get into the gap, right? So,
mm,
and so, it's, I think I remember an interview to Jeff Bezos that say, when you start a company, you want to focus on a pain and a problem that will still be there in 10, 15 years. Well, security, we're just at the start. It's
right.
always been kind of as human as old as human beings.
Mm,
So definitely excited by the fact that we're bringing innovation and a different way to look at problems in the
mm,
cyber world. But also very pragmatic on the fact that we're still at the start, still an up and coming scale up. But we do plan to make the life of the criminal very miserable.
Fantastic. Let's look at in our close really. Sadly, we're running out of time, but takeaways from this episode. Your advice really for aspiring entrepreneurs and tech leaders. Any final thoughts or advice for our listeners, especially those in cybersecurity or AI sectors?
Well, again, I'll go back to that curiosity comment I did earlier. There's so much changing at the moment, and it will keep changing. So, first of all, if you want a stable environment, don't be in IT or cybersecurity. It's definitely never gonna be stable. 30 years plus that I'm in it. I don't know how many times I've seen the technology evolve, so it's gonna continue and faster and faster. But if you are curious and you like learning and you like to see new things, there is no better place. And second, crime doesn't pay versus IT and cybersecurity do pay relatively well. So, it's a great place to, foresee a career. And, for younger people that maybe are deciding what to do, math, programming, analytics and statistics. These are all things that, doesn't matter how AI will evolve. Somebody will always have to be there programming the AI. Right? You want to be the one that is ahead of the new technology, not the one that is consuming the new technology, right? So that I see the people we hired, very smart people, and I'm always amazed by the creativity that they bring into the solution of new problems, because we
Mhm,
obviously breaking new ground with this technology, and
mhm,
and I cannot think of a more exciting space than being today in cybersecurity. You do it for the good of the people,
mhm.
defending against cybercrime. You crack new technology to bringing them to the extreme, and you do it with access to fantastic capabilities, from cloud provider to new AI systems to speaking with customer that have fantastic system of their own. So good place to be.
Sorry, Luigi, I'm nodding because my eldest son has just graduated with a master's degree and he's no clue what he wants to do. So he loves sport and he's really good at numbers. And I've said
Hmm.
to him, stop beating yourself up. A lot of the jobs that you're going to work in don't even exist yet. And you guys are living proof of that. And all I've said to him is, look, be curious, ask questions about everything, get some work experience because that's a good way to find out not the things that you want to do, but the things you don't want to do as well. But also, ask people for contacts, and also ask them their advice because when you're older, you've led a life. We've learned how to do things the wrong way as well as do things the right way. So
Hmm.
I completely agree with you. So look,
Yeah,
call to
listen,
action, really, Luigi.
I've had 26 jobs at Dell, and some after. Never the job existed before I took them, right?
Wow.
So from even the first one when I joined Dell, I started on the technical support for server. There was nobody doing technical support for server in Italy.
Right.
So it's an exciting place to be, and I definitely agree with you. The jobs of the next few years do not exist yet, so it's still an opportunity to have such a career where you build yourself as you go.
Right. Luigi, we've got about 20,000 listeners on here, and they are founders like you or companies looking to partner or indeed funders, looking for interesting businesses to invest in. How can our audience learn more about Before AI and connect with you?
Yeah, I mean the easy one is LinkedIn. I'm there more often than not. You can find Luigi Lenguito. There aren't many. It's only one in LinkedIn. So that's definitely the best place. Then you can go on before.ai/video, and you'll see a number of demo or insight on how the system works. You can go on before.ai/docs if you want to see more content. Of course, before.ai uh, as a website, to kind of have more of the high level story. And then demo.before.ai if you want to see the system in operation and
Mhm,
interacts with it. It's a live demo that you can play with,
mhm.
and definitely engage on comments and posts that I can put online. And this way we can continue the conversation.
Brilliant. Listen, a call to action to all our listeners. If you've enjoyed this podcast today, then you can connect with us on YouTube or Spotify or Apple or LinkedIn. So if you enjoyed it, do that, and they get bigger and better as we go along. So look, Luigi, thank you so much for joining me today. I know you're a super busy guy, traveling all around the world, right? It's genuinely been fascinating. We're all
Thank
worried about not protecting for cybersecurity, and it's good to know what you guys are out doing there. So I feel like you should have a cape as one of the good guys.
you. Yeah, that's part of the probably why some people ask me, how come nobody else did this before, right?
Mm.
And this predictive approach is pre-crime, and it's probably because we don't have that UDI. As me
Yeah,
and my co-founder, we are not hardcore cybersecurity guys.
yeah.
The company, actually, when you get to learn a bit more, is a data science company applied to cybersecurity. So
Mhm.
that phrase is because they didn't know it was impossible that they did it. So this is pretty much what happened in our case. So I'm glad I don't have the hoodie. Let's put it this way.
No, it's amazing. Honestly, you come across really well. You know your subject, and it's a fascinating
Thank
company.
you.
I'm delighted the growth you guys have had, and thanks so much for sharing with us today.
You're welcome. Thank you, Maurice, for the invite.